Hi, it's Jacqueline again. This is part 2 of the outer and inner legs. So please come up onto your feet. And we're going to take what we investigated in part 1 into a balancing pose. So come onto your feet and find mountain pose, please. So positioning your heels underneath your pelvis. If you tend to have your pelvis forward of your heels, just draw the pelvis back. It might feel like you're going to fall backwards. So planting the mounds of the big toes a little more deeply into the floor. Lift your toes again. So that'll just ensure that you're not using the little toe bones to help keep you from falling backwards. Instead, you're going to ground down through the mounds of the big toes, shift the pelvis back, and then you'll also feel some core muscles engaging here to keep in the front body to keep yourself from falling back. And letting the spine reach up through the crown of the head, shoulders gently pressing back. Let's turn the palms forward to help roll the front of the shoulders back away from the chest. Take a few breaths here in mountain pose, feeling the downward connection to the earth, as well as an upward lift and buoyancy through the heart and lungs, chest and head. And then from here, we're going to shift our weight into the left leg, lifting the right foot away from the floor and placing it in front of the left foot. You might take the right heel right to the toes of the left foot, or you might want to have a little space there, right? So finding what works for you in a way that gives you enough challenge to find your balance without feeling too unbalanced that you get frustrated, right? So one foot in front of the other. And you could also do this by a wall, right, to help to steady yourself too if your balance is being really challenged here. So I would suggest first just shifting your weight a little forward into the front leg and a little back into the back leg. Essentially, this is what we do when we're walking, although the feet aren't so in line with each other, right? But there's the weight shifting forward so that the back foot becomes light. Shifting weight back so the front foot becomes light. And then finding a place that feels balanced, where your weight is being caught evenly. There's a balance of effort here in both the right and left leg. And then coming back to what we explored in part 1, and that was finding the lines of energy or effort, reaching the legs down through the outer seams, from the outer hips into the outer edges of the feet, from the inner thighs down into the inner edges of the feet. And just play with, can you find this here in our standing balancing practice? Still the legs engaging down into the earth with a lift and openness, lightness in the spine reaching up. And just careful that you're not locking your knees. There might be a tendency to grip as you're trying to find your center of gravity, to let the knees be soft, not locked. And then to play with this exploration of reaching the legs into the ground from the outer hips down into the inner edges of the feet. Outer hips down into the inner edges of the feet. Notice how that changes things. Does it feel a little more challenging to find your balance, or a little more grounded, right? How does it feel in the thighs, in the sacrum? Less compression, more space. Okay. And then as you're ready, we're going to step that foot back and just give your legs a little shake out. Um, so noticing where you were feeling the work, and we're going to feel it in different places. So this might be not only a nice way to investigate the outer and inner lines of effort or energy in the legs, but you'll feel some strengthening happening and some stretching happening. And you might feel that in the buttocks, in the outer hips, in the adductors. Okay, let's do the other side. So from mountain pose, remember finding your alignment here, bringing the pelvis back. If it's floating forward in front of your ankles, bringing it back. Right, and then shifting your weight into the right leg and stepping the left foot in front, and take a moment just to feel weight dropping into the front foot, back foot. Remember to keep your spine lifting up. There might be a tendency to look down at the feet, right? And just notice what that's doing to the spine when we curl the head forward. So we want to keep this upward lift and buoyancy of the lungs and the heart as the legs keep us grounded. And then find a balance of effort through both legs. Like the weight is distributed evenly into the right and left foot. The hips are also square to the top of your mat. So even though the left leg is forward, I'm not turning my pelvis to the left. I'm keeping the hips square. And then playing with those different ways of connecting to the earth from the hips down into the feet. Right, we've explored 3 different ways: outer lines into the outer edges, inner lines into the inner edges, and then the outer hips into the inner edges of the feet. Yeah, lift all 10 toes if you need to, just to get a little bit more familiar with the mounds of the toes here on the ground, rather than the pads of the toes. All right, very good. And then when you're ready, step out, give your legs a shake. And I would suggest, if you've got some time, just to repeat that sequence again, maybe 1 or 2 more times. And thank you so much for joining me. I hope that was helpful.